Roy and Mary had a happy marriage until George came into the picture. George was their friend's dog who they agreed to look after for a few weeks. But things started to change between the couple, following Mary's secret calls, frequent outings, and her strange relationship with the dog. This was too much for Roy to understand, but with the dog's recent action and one very messy event, Roy had to call the cops immediately. Let's see what happens in this video. Roy and Mary agreed to help their friend Tim look after his dog George. Tim had an emergency business meeting and had to book a flight immediately without getting a dog sitter on time. The first few days went well and George was well behaved, although he was so fond of Mary that he clung to her wherever she went. Roy found it strange and sometimes tried scolding George, but he later stopped bothering about it until he noticed something odd. Mary seemed to be hiding something and she carried her phone with her everywhere unlike before. She also walked outdoors to take calls and avoided talking with him too frequently. Although he trusted her, these behaviors were new to him and he knew that he wasn't just assuming, especially with George sniffing and following her around. Roy remembered reading somewhere that dogs had sharp senses and might follow someone around when they discover something questionable. So, he paid close attention to Mary and even eavesdropped on her call one day. He could barely hear the details and she kept looking sideways. Roy was so disturbed as he felt whatever she was hiding might put both of them at risk. She even left the house while he slept one afternoon, and when he woke up to realize she wasn't around, he quickly went out, got into his car, and drove around to see if he could find her in the neighborhood. A few minutes later, he sighted Mary coming out of unfamiliar-looking SUV and getting into her car. So, he turned around and went home. When she got home, he spoke to her casually, hoping she would disclose her whereabouts without him asking. She didn't, and this made him very angry and hurt. Now Mary was later in the room folding some clothes, while George stood closely beside her. She got tired of his clinginess and tried distracting him by throwing a tennis towards the walkway. He ran to get it but came back to her. Now she threw the ball off again. It landed on the bed, so she bent to pick it up, and George jumped into the bed trying to get the tennis too. He pushed his weight on her in the process, and that when Roy stepped in thinking the dog was attacking her. Roy quickly pushed George off, and Mary held her hands out to stop him while trying to explain the situation. "Is this something you would like to tell me about? Something I should know?" These were Roy's replies to her, and she looked at him confused and said no. They argued for a while, and Roy banged the room door and left angrily. He walked out to take a stroll and clear his head, but on getting back, he heard George barking furiously and immediately he knew something was wrong. He walked into the room and saw some broken glasses on the floor. George ran into the sitting room towards him barking, as if trying to say, "Something is going on in there." He was about to go in, but hesitated and he realized that whatever Mary had been up to could put him at risk, so he called the cops immediately. When they arrived, he explained the situation, so they approached the room, staying alert. They didn't see any sign of forced entry, but they heard a noise coming from the inside. After the door was broken down, a distressed-looking Mary was found holding a mop stick with tears on her face. She looked so shocked and proceeded to know what they were doing in her house. Apparently, the door got stuck when Roy shut it angrily. She couldn't find her phone, so she had to try hitting the door with the only available item she could find. And since the door was partially soundproof, they could barely hear her. On the other hand, the police proceeded to question Mary regarding the suspicious laid by her husband. She was shocked and hurt, so she started to explain what really happened. Unlike what Roy had been assuming, Mary wasn't into any bad deals or situations with anyone. She was only pregnant and was scared because they both decided not to have kids yet. But she didn't want to get an abortion still. She needed time and space to decide if keeping the child was a good idea and what it would mean for her marriage. So, she took regular evening strolls and also visited a counselor that lived close by. But George already perceived it, and that was why he became so attached to her. As she explained with teary eyes, Roy couldn't look at her. He felt so stupid and angry at himself. When the cops left, he held her hands begging for her forgiveness. Wow! What are your thoughts about this story and George's innocent involvement? Tell us in the comment section, and also like and subscribe to our channel.